The following video was originally uploaded on my old channel, Sonic YM2612, and is being re-uploaded here for completeness. The topics addressed at the beginning of the video apply specifically to that channel. Later, I give a retrospective of projects I've worked on over the past few years, up until this point. This part is more relevant to this channel, which is why I decided to also upload the video here. With that said, please enjoy the video. Hey everyone, Laz here. So I'm currently recording this a little bit past midnight on January 1st, 2022, so Happy New Year. So what is this video about? Well, I'm kind of doing this just impromptu. There's no script or anything, it's just me talking to the camera. So I feel like I've needed to make a video like this for a while for my channel because my channel has just kind of been a thing where I just uploaded random things that either I made or something that I found interesting, and it just became a sort of dumping ground of mine, and it didn't have any cohesive direction or anything as such. It was just a bunch of random stuff, essentially, just whatever I felt like uploading on there, pretty much. So for the two of you who still care about my channel, maybe you subscribed a long time ago and you found me through the music covers that I made, or through that stupid ass YouTube poop, which for some unknown reason has over 1 million views, which I never imagined in my life would happen with such a dumb video. But anyway, you may have noticed that I haven't really uploaded as much to the channel in a good while. Back when I first started the channel, I would upload fairly regularly, actually. I used to just be making loads of mostly video game music covers, that you'll find a lot of that on my channel. And I used to, like I said, upload fairly regularly, but then I kind of just stopped, and then maybe every once in a while I would upload something. So for anyone who's following me and just wants to know what I've been up to this whole time, I've never stopped making music. In fact, have synthesizers, bunch of synthesizers here. I got all these plushies on them. But anyway, like I mentioned, I never stopped making music. In fact, this past year I actually made quite a few tracks, more than I usually do. So what happened was that I decided to create separate channels for the different things that I upload, just to keep things a bit more organized. You know, it's not just me tossing everything into a single channel. And I kind of did this without any major announcement or anything like that. So most of you who follow me on this channel probably aren't even aware that I have other channels that I upload stuff to. So that's kind of why I'm making this video, to bring attention to those other channels that I'm running. And if you're still interested in following me and the stuff that I do, so that you can go to those channels and subscribe and check out the stuff that I'm uploading there, because this channel here more or less is just going to become legacy, to find the right word. I'm not going to delete it or anything like that. Everything's going to stay, but I'm very likely not going to upload much more on here unless, you know, I have something that just doesn't necessarily fit on any of the other channels that I'm running. So again, this channel is just pretty much going to be legacy. You'll still be able to check out everything here. Of course, like I said, I'm not going to delete anything. But yeah, that's basically it. Just wanted to make this quick video to bring attention to these other places where I've been active, where you can find some of my more recent content, because I just haven't been active on this channel in particular. So yeah, with that said, I want to take the opportunity here to kind of showcase some of the stuff I've been doing for the past few years, in case you missed it. So in 2015 to 2016, I made a video game soundtrack for a friend's game. It's called Baby Eater. Maybe you've seen the upload on this channel of the soundtrack that I did. My friend wanted to have a soundtrack on it that was reminiscent of the Sega Master System, because that's the aesthetic he was going for with that game. So me and my big brain wisdom decided to go for the Japanese Sega Master System sound, because for those of you who don't know, the Japanese Sega Master System has an additional sound chip that's not found in the North American or European Master System. So I was working with both an FM sound chip and also a PSG sound chip, which is just your typical square waves and noise. And after that, I did some more chiptune style tracks. I actually saw a call for submissions for this Sega Genesis cartridge album that was going to be made, called YM 2017, and that's also something I've uploaded on this channel. Maybe you've seen it. Done by a little company called Catskull Electronics. They mostly dabble with making little electronics for game consoles. They do stuff for Sega Genesis, for Game Boy, just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. They have a website where you could check out all the products they make. But anyway, this was the first time they were doing a music cartridge for the Sega Genesis. And when I saw the call for submissions, I was like, oh, this is a golden opportunity, because all my life I've loved the Sega Genesis. I would always just sit there and listen to the video game soundtracks, you know, not even like play the game. I would just sit there and go and sound test and listen to everything. And as you've seen on this channel of mine, I'm a big Sonic fan, so a lot of the covers I've done here are of Sonic music. So when I saw the opportunity to actually make a song that will play on Sega Genesis, which is something I've never done before, it's a bit of a dream of mine, I just had to jump on it. And not only did I make a song for it, I also recorded all of the tracks through my actual Sega Genesis. I have a high definition Model 1, the earliest revision. I believe it's a VA2, which came out here in North America. And those were used as the basis for a vinyl record version of the album that came out. And also the digital release. You can actually find that on Bandcamp. So the audio that's in there came out of my Sega Genesis. I, meticulously recorded everything with the best quality. And this is actually a good segue to another thing that I've been doing, which is running a small, mostly cassette-based independent music label. And so my first release on that label was actually YM 2017. So I actually worked closely with Catskull, recorded the tracks, provided it to them so that they could release it digitally, but also have the vinyl version pressed. And the vinyl version was done by the Yetee. So, if you know anything about them, they're a great company. They make very high quality products. But yeah, that was another incredible thing too, having my music pressed onto a vinyl record for the first time ever. That was just never imagined in a million years that was gonna happen, but I have it somewhere. It's stored away. I would show you, but yeah, it's incredible. I never thought first my recordings were used, but also the song that I made for YM 2017, pressed onto a vinyl record. It's just crazy. But yeah, going back to the label, I released YM 2017 on cassette tape. I actually recorded everything myself. I have very high quality cassette decks, and I also did everything like the artwork. I made printed the J cards, folded them, packaged everything very nicely, and that was a very fun experience. I got to meet a lot of very talented musicians who, I didn't have any clue who they were before. But yeah, I'm very familiar with a lot of artists in the chiptune scene, and I'm still very much active in the chiptune community, but I'll talk about that later. So shortly after that, 2017 through 2018, me and some new friends that I made in the chiptune scene, we got together and decided to make our own little compilation. And it was actually a follow-up to a previous album that was done between artists Dread, Cosmo Buggy, and Groove Master 303, a little project they called FM Possible. So as you could probably guess, this little project we set up was the follow-up, FM Possible 2. And the premise of FM Possible is that not all, but most of your sounds had to be FM synthesizer. They had to be FM synthesis based, mostly in some way. So for my tracks, I busted out some Yamaha FM keyboards that I have and some, other software synthesizers and samples, but most of it was FM keyboards. So that was a very fun project. And it was because Dread and Cosmo Buggy were on YM 2017, so, you know, afterwards, of course, I decided to reach out and, you know, congratulate everybody. And later it was Dread and Cosmo Buggy who actually invited me to the compilation that they were doing, so, yeah, again, that was amazing connections that I made just through that one project. Also, for FM Possible 2, I was part of a little something called a release party for the first time. So basically, after we completed the album, Dread and the other folks were basically just like, all right, how are we going to put this out there? And so they knew a guy called Rob Carballo, and he has this online internet stream called geekbeatradio, which primarily plays lots of chiptune artists, but, you know, all kinds of music, really. And so we pitched the album to Rob, and he said, yeah, we'll do a release party for it on Geekbeat Radio. So that was fun. That was loads of fun, and I had never been a part of anything like that ever. So basically it's, you know, a bunch of people tune into Geekbeat Radio, and then we have this big chat in its Discord server. You know, people just geeking out and gawking over our amazing tracks as they listen to it for the first time. So yeah, again, that was a very amazing experience, and I would go on to be part of future release parties, even ones that I didn't necessarily make any music on the albums that were being featured, just as an audience member, really. But from there, I would actually go on and plan out a release party for YM 2017, the digital/vinyl/cassette release of it. And I pitched that to David DeGraw, who basically runs Catskull Electronics. And then, he thought it was a good idea, and I pitched the release to Rob of Geekbeat Radio, and he approved it. So we did this great big massive release party for YM 2017, and we actually got a bunch of the artists on air, because they also do commentary and stuff before and a little bit after, you know, some of the songs get played. And we actually broke the limit for how many participants could be added to a call, because they were using some system, and so it was crazy. We just had so many people from YM 2017 on air. So yeah, huge shout out to Rob and to Geekbeat Radio for those amazing experiences and memories. And of course, they're still active. Geekbeat Radio still continues to do release parties, and of course, they play their regular streams. And Rob, he's just amazing overall. He does organizational stuff in MagFest, I believe. Yeah, it's just crazy, all the stuff he does. So kudos to him and the other team members of Geekbeat Radio. So in the time following that, actually quite a bit happened. It's a bit of a long story, but if you've been in the prevalent chiptune communities, or been following it, you'll know that quite a bit has happened. But that's kind of outside the scope of this video, to be honest. It would just become insanely long if I got into all the details. Really just want to keep this as brief as possible. But just know that there was a sort of fundamental shift that happened in the chiptune scene, you know, between like 2019, 2020. So where was I? So around 2018, I would say, I joined this little Discord server called A Bit of Chiptune. And they decided to do things a little differently than most chiptune communities. They wanted to create a very safe, inclusive space with rules and guidelines that were really for the benefit of all the members. And, there was no grounds for like elitism or bigotry or other things like that. Because unfortunately, such things were actually quite a bit prevalent in the chiptune communities. So a bit of chiptune wanted to do something different. They wanted to stand out and stand up against all that crap. So yeah, I was in a bit of chiptune, and I saw that they were doing very interesting themed compilations. So the first opportunity that I had, I wrote something and I submitted it, and I got in. Not that there was any like high bar to entry or anything. They were actually very inclusive and friendly to beginners. So, but anyway, I got something in, and the album that came out, which was in 2019, is called Marshmallow Bits. Achievements, Memories, which you've actually been hearing not just now, but also it's what I played a little bit of at the beginning of this video. And around this time, I was also getting more into doing artwork, because that's another passion of mine besides music. And so there was an opportunity for me to create an album artwork for one of the A Bit of Chiptune compilations. And it just so happens that my specialty is very like vaporwavy, synthwavy aesthetic stuff. And that's what this album called for. Funnily, the album ended up being called Damn, That's Good, because of, I think it was I submitted a like work in progress or something of my artwork for the album. And at that time, they hadn't decided what it was going to be called. And literally someone just commented like, damn, that's good. And jokingly, everyone was like, that should be the album name. Well, it actually happened. That literally became the album's name. So yeah, I didn't end up making a song for that one, but I did make a very awesome album art that I'm very proud of. So yeah, I had very great experiences with the group. Loads of fun, very friendly people in there. And so of course, I stayed in that community, and more opportunities came up to participate in themed compilations. So the next one I made something for was one called Fighting Furies. And oh boy, there was quite a bit of development with that album, because it took over a year to actually be pushed to release. The organizer for that album was just going through stuff, and so there were lots of delays that happened with it, but eventually we saw it through, and the concept for that one was actually quite amazing and very different from anything that had been done in A Bit of Chiptune before. The concept with that one was that every participant created their own fighting game character, essentially, and we could give them a backstory, a description, we could even draw them out if we wanted. Basically, we were, for that album, creating the theme song of our character. So of course I was like, gotta make something for this, you know. This is a very epic idea. So in the group, I would constantly express my interest in doing the mastering for all of my own songs, which I had done so for my song for Marshmallow Bits. The reason being is I'm very particular about how my music is mastered. I'm not someone who endorses the loudness war, as it's called, which is the practice of just completely compressing and, you know, smashing your mix and just making it sound way too loud without any dynamics in it, to put it in simple terms. So as someone who's experienced with proper mastering techniques, I would constantly say, hey, can I can I do the mastering for my own songs? Because I was always afraid that someone was going to do a somewhat poor job with my song, which unfortunately had happened in the past. So one day, out of nowhere, I was asked if I wanted to do the mastering for Fighting Furies, and I just couldn't believe it. My jaw just dropped to the floor. I was like, wait, for real? You're considering me to actually do the mastering? And yeah, duh, of course I accepted. What do I look like? But no, it was quite a challenge because of the variety of songs that were submitted. You had everything from orchestral to just like hard metal, rock, synth, electronica, just everything in between. My own track was like synthwave style. So it was a bit of a challenge, but I consider I did a very good job with it. And so, that's another thing I did. I mastered a compilation for a bit of chiptune, which was, again, another thing I never thought I would get the opportunity to do. So yes, I compose music, I do mastering, I do artwork sometimes. I love cassettes. I love vintage audio. So yeah, just a little bit about me if you didn't know. But yeah, like I said, that album took quite a bit, kept being pushed back because the organizer of the album wanted to finish this booklet that he was making, and there was a whole like tournament facet to it where our virtual characters would fight it out musically. And there was just a lot that went into it, and so it just took a long time to actually see to completion. But once it came out, man, it was rocking. Let me tell you, it's one of the best made compilations that I've heard in a very long time. At the same time that was still going on, a bit of Chiptune started their next compilation, which ended up being called Ascend Together. And the idea of that one was you have to go back to a bit of Chiptune's first compilation release. That one, the idea behind that one is that there was a descending theme to it. So the Ascent one was kind of the opposite. It had an ascension theme to it. And the prompt was purposefully vague because you would just interpret it however you would want. Just what does descent and ascension mean to you? And how would you put that into a musical context? So naturally, for Ascend Together, I made a very spacey song, like going to outer space. And I appropriately called it Astro Ascension. And I wasn't the only one with such an idea. Actually, quite a few of the songs on the compilation ended up being space themed. So Ascend Together actually beat Fighting Furies to the punch by a little bit to release. Just a few days after Ascend Together, Fighting Furies finally released. So we kind of had both releases back to back. I think one was just 1 week after the other. And now, as of me recording this, there's currently submissions open for the next A Bit of Chiptune compilation, which is going to be a Super Smash Bros. One. It's just doing covers of pretty much any song that's in Super Smash Brothers. Since that one's not out yet, as of me recording this video, I'm not going to tell you what I'm working on. It's a secret until it comes out. Also, as of me making this video, just a few weeks ago, I had another song of mine come out as part of another compilation. So there's this other Chiptune server that's made up of a few people from A Bit of Chiptune. They just decided to create their own little thing, you know, just for fun. It's called Kickblips Crew. So they actually started with a compilation just titled Kickblips, and it was chiptune covers of songs from Tony Hawk Pro Skater. So they actually went and licensed everything, and they put that out as an album. And ever since, they've been making a few more. So they have one that's just SpongeBob song covers. And most recently, the one that I'm in, that I mentioned, they did a compilation that's chiptune covers of sitcom themes. So, yeah, if you look up, the album is called Chipcom by Kickblips Crew. You'll see what I did. Oh, and also recently released another thing that I'm part of, which ties back to something I was in 2017. So remember when I mentioned YM 2017? Well, Catskull Electronics decided to do another one. Yeah, another one. So yes, YM 2020. I have the cartridge here. Hang on. YM 2020. You know, after being on the original YM 2017, if you can see it. Yeah, when I saw a call for submissions for this baby, I was like, nah, there's no way I can not be on this. I have to enter again and see if I get chosen to be on it again. And fortunately, for YM 2020, I don't know if it's that they increased the cartridge storage capacity, or it's just that people submitted more optimized songs with less samples in them. I'm guessing a combination. YM 2020 has a lot more songs than YM 2017. And in fact, everyone who submitted a song for YM 2020 got accepted, got their song on the cartridge. There was no selection process as there was for YM 2017. yeah, that's essentially it as far as music I've been working on for the past few years. There were a couple things that I missed that I didn't mention, but I'll touch on them briefly. So after doing Baby Eater in 2016, one of the graphics artists for the game gets in touch with me. His name's Andrew. And he just has this super wonderful comic series called Spirit Legends. And he does this video version of it that just has, full voice acting, sound effects, music. It's just phenomenally well done. And so he gets in touch with me because he needs more music for the series, and also he has this little spin-off podcast type thing, which is just the characters talking about the events that unfolded in the episodes. So yeah, I did some musical work for him. I did music for a podcast that he does called GG Gaming. So yeah, I wrote the main theme for that. I did various music for Spirit Legends for the podcast, and most recently for one of the episodes. I also forgot to mention the work I did with Quirby64, also known as Kega, that's spelled KQA. So I met Quirby after YM 2017. She was actually one of the participants. She submitted a short but sweet track, I would say. Anyway, we got talking, and I was interested in checking out some of her other works, so she gladly sent me some links. And she told me about this older EP that she made that she was interested in reworking, maybe remixing and mastering, because it wasn't some of her best mixing work. It was, one of her earlier stuff. But the concept was solid, and the music itself was good. So the EP is called Calm in the Storm, and it's just a handful of songs. The basic concept is it's just the different phases of a storm. So like the clouds rolling in, the rainfall, the wind, etc. And so we were talking about possibly collabing on something, and so she was like, well, would you want to take a look at this EP? Maybe I could send you the project files and you can do a new mix and master of it. And so I agreed. She sent over everything, and I was able to create new mixes and masters from those. helped her put together a new CD release of it, but it wasn't just any ordinary CD. This was what's called a mixed mode CD, so it contained both audio and data. So she wanted to include some extra bonus content on it, so I helped her kind of author that, and then she was able to make copies of it. And so yeah, that was one thing I did. I collaborated on that project, did mixing and mastering, and also helped her create the disc master so that she could produce copies of the CD. And we're still currently collabing on stuff. Just recently she put out some cassette tapes of some of her newer albums, and so I helped her, kind of work the formatting of how to make cassette labels and things like that. And she's a total pro now at it, so... And as of most current, I recorded some synth parts for a new album that she's recording. It hasn't come out yet. It's still in the process of being recorded and mixed. But yeah, that's one thing I have participation in. Another thing I made just this past Halloween 2021, I participated in this virtual show called Chipfest Cyberspace. It's by my friend James, aka CalmDownKidder, or CDK. And he was basically calling for submissions for just a fun cover of any song, just for his Halloween special show. It was Chipfest Cyberspace 13 Halloween-ish edition. So what I did was me, Dread, Drexigar, and Vince Cool, we put together this little song called Spook Goop Boogie. It was actually last year, for last year's Battle of the Bits Halloween thing that they had going on. So we made this little song. It actually ranked very high. I think it got like 3rd place. Anyway, this year for the Chipfest Cyberspace 13, I decided to do a live cover of our little song. And I have that on my music YouTube channel. Very fun, but it was also very hard, and I almost ran up against the deadline. I didn't have very much time to actually finish it exactly how I wanted, but I did pretty good. Oh, I didn't tell you, it wasn't just doing the song, no, it was making a video for it as well. So I filmed myself very much like this, but also, playing all the parts, and then just put them all together, edited everything along with the final mixed audio, mixed and mastered by me. And it was a trip, but it was super fun. I enjoyed it. Everyone liked it on the show, and of course I wasn't the only one who made a badass video. There were loads and loads of talented people on Chipfest Cyberspace who made something incredible. So plugging them, can't recommend CDK's thing enough. He constantly promotes other artists and boosts them, raises awareness to them, does these shows on a fairly regular basis, so check him out. And yeah, that truly covers about pretty much everything I've done, that I've released in some form. And as I mentioned, I made separate channels for the different types of content that I'm uploading. So I do have one that's mainly for my music, So you'll see not just my releases on there, but also plan on doing different types of videos, like maybe talk about how synthesizers work, different audio related topics, perhaps, depending on what you may find interesting. And I briefly mentioned my music label that's called Lazer Audio, and it does have its own YouTube channel that you can check out. And currently the label's a bit of on hold right now because I'm having trouble with my main recording decks. They're in need of servicing. So right now I'm just not able to effectively record cassettes the way I want to. I like to just use the best quality tape and decks that I can so that I can get the best quality out of the cassettes. That's kind of the whole thing about my label, is just making the best quality cassettes possible. But yeah, you can check out the channel. There's some videos on there just showcasing a few of the releases that I've done on the label. And you can hear how the cassettes sound. I did some actual cassette rips of the tapes that I recorded. And on a related note, there's a sister channel to it. It's called Lazer Archive. As I mentioned briefly before, I do like to collect cassettes and VHS, vinyl, just different kinds of media. And sometimes I'll come across something that hasn't been properly preserved. And I do like to make high quality rips of stuff and just upload them, make them available. Stuff that you wouldn't normally find or are very hard to come across, especially in high quality. Just unfortunately, a lot of archive stuff that you find isn't necessarily done to the highest degree of quality. There's a certain process you have to do for certain things, like transcoding analog video to digital. There's a whole process of deinterlacing. It can get pretty convoluted. It takes someone with the knowledge and the equipment to do some very high quality transfers. So that's what I try to do. Like anything I come across that isn't readily available or available with the best quality, I try to do that, make it available. Right now on the channel, as of uploading this, you'll primarily see Spanish language stuff. If you didn't know that about me, I'm Hispanic. So yeah, I do have quite a few Spanish language tapes and concerts and stuff that I would like to very much archive on there. Unfortunately, I've noticed that Spanish language stuff in particular usually doesn't get archived very well. As opposed to, stuff in English or in Japanese even. So, that's where I want to come in. I want to archive those things, but not just Spanish language stuff, but just anything that I can find and play back and find interesting. Trying to think. I think that's all I wanted to talk about, really. So I have my music channel. That's Laz the Synth Sensei. Lazer Audio, that's my music label. Lazer Archive, that's where I'm uploading miscellaneous stuff that I find from now on. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If to the 2 or 3 people who still give a crap about what I'm doing, super appreciate you. If you actually still follow me after all this time and are actually interested in checking out what I've been up to these past few years, I'll leave links to everything in the usual places. But yeah, all I ask is that you please, check the stuff out if you're interested, like, subscribe, all that stuff. But yeah, thanks again for watching if you made it all the way through. And until next time, and hope you have a great New Year's.